Today we're going to be recreating this Levi Ackerman edgy undercut hairstyle on my mannequin head Dillon. And as you can see, Dillon had very different hair before making this video. And this video is pretty much just going to illustrate his complete transformation from color to cut to styling and beyond. Okay, so buckle in, and if you do like what you see here today, please don't forget to smash that love button because it really helps me grow on this platform and continue creating awesome hair content like this. So the Levi hairstyle tutorial was highly requested in the comment section of one of my previous Attack on Titan hairstyle videos. Most of you will probably know the one where I did Eren Yeager's new season 4 Freedom man bun hairstyle. And after many weeks of procrastinating, I finally got my shit together, and here we are, we're doing it, the Levi Ackerman haircut. I also have to admit, to put this video together today, there was no way in hell I was gonna be able to do it on my own, because upon filming this, or prior to filming this, I had no experience cutting hair whatsoever. I mean, I've done my hairstyling certification, which covers like professional styling techniques, but let me tell you, cutting hair is a whole different story, and I'm so grateful to my friend Matt, who's a fully qualified hairdresser by the way, was willing to come over and help me with the cutting component of this video to help bring this awesome Levi Ackerman hairstyle to life. Also, just a little side note, you'll see a few other Levi Ackerman haircut tutorials rolling around on the internet that focus on adding that PC element to the hair by hacking at it with a razor. Yes, this method really does help in creating that really pointed icicle look that Levi has, but in real life, it's not always the most practical haircut, because when you hack those ends away, you can't get them back, okay? So if you suddenly decide that you want your hair to look a little bit fuller or be a little bit more versatile with styles, you're gonna be up shit creek without a paddle, because everyone knows that you can't add hair back on once it's been taken off. Okay, simples. I could have gone the full way and hacked those pieces off in, this rendition of Levi Ackerman's hairstyle today. However, I really did want to keep things a little bit more realistic for any of you out there who are actually, really considering getting this style. And what I'm going to show you in the styling component of this video is how to get those PC Levi looks using hair products instead of hacking them off with a razor. So you can have that versatility, all right? I just wanted to keep it a little bit more realistic. I think getting the hairstyle exact to the character is great, but when you're working with like real hairstyles, just things translate a little bit differently. Before we get into the styling, we've got to get into the cutting. So without further ado, let's stop chatting so much and get into this bloody hairstyle because it looks great. I love it. Firstly, before we even get the scissors or clippers out, we had to address the color of Dillon's hair first. As you can see here, it's brown, and if we want to look like Levi, well, you gotta make it black. To do this, I just used a Schwarzkopf box dye in blue black, and I got that from the supermarket, and it turned out a treat. I was actually so surprised at how even I got the color. So after coloring, it was time to get on with the cutting. This is where Matt came in. And first up, we had to section out where exactly we were going to put the undercut. Levi's undercut is considerably lower on the head compared to the generic standard disconnected undercut that we see on so many guys. So we came in and made our section just above the temples and then had it dip down slightly in the back just to cover his occipital bone. If you have no idea what your occipital bone is, it's the bone that sits at the back of your skull where the head begins to curve. Welcome to Bone Structures 101. Bone Structures 101. Once you think you have the undercut section spot on, it's time to make some irreversible changes and shave all that hair around the bottom off. The tricky thing with Captain Levi's undercut is because he's a cartoon character, it's hard to actually distinguish how short his undercut actually is. I mean, it could definitely be a 0, but it could also be a 1 or a 2 or even a 3, So if you actually end up going to the hairdresser to get this style done, predetermine that before you go and sit down in the chair, okay? And then it'll make it better for everyone. The hairdresser, yourself, and yeah. Just remember, you can't bring any hair back once it's gone, so it's safer to take less off in the beginning and just adjust it as you go. Because mannequin hair is artificially stitched, the threading of the hairs can look, a little bit funny, especially when they're shaven to a 0. So for this cut on Dillon, we decided to shave the undercut to a 3 so his scalp wasn't mega exposed and it still looked somewhat decent. After putting in our undercut, the real cutting began. So to break down this haircut, we started at the back and we had to distinguish what we call the baseline. So the baseline is pretty much a point that helps us establish where the lowest part of the hairstyle is going to fall once we're done. And it also acts as a guide to help us keep the rest of the haircut looking symmetrical and even right the way through. For this cut, we made the baseline about 2 inches lower than where we made our undercut section. In simple terms, our baseline fell about 2 inches below the occipital bone, and the occipital bone is what? That's right, the curvy bit at the back of your head. Bone Structures 101. After establishing the baseline, we needed to graduate the hair from the baseline up to the occipital bone. Graduating the hair allows us to follow the natural shape of the head and gives us that nice curvy look at the bottom of the hair by using the baseline as a guide. Once we've graduated the hair from the baseline to the occipital bone, we had to establish a new baseline that sat around the ear. This new baseline became the guide for our fringe. Let me tell you, cutting the fringe around the front was probably the easiest part of this whole operation because there was no graduation needed. It's actually a very tricky thing to learn how to graduate hair. And when you're a left-hander like me, yeah, it's a whole new ball game, honestly. Once we were happy with the cut in the front and the back, we did a once over on all the ends with the thinning shears just to add a little bit of that wispy Levi texture. And going back to what I said earlier in this video, we didn't want to go too crazy on the thinning as I wanted to keep this style a little more realistic and versatile. And had we have gone in, with the razor and did the dripping icicle ends like all the other tutorials that are online, style would have become, very one note, which is what I wanted to avoid. So after we finished with the thinning and we were happy with the cut, it was time to kiss Matt goodbye and get onto the styling. Step one with styling was to get the spray bottle out and get Dillon's hair damp before adding all my pre-stylers. For pre-styling today, I'll be using a few things. First up, I'll be using the Davro straightening balm. This stuff is amazing when blow drying or straightening hair. It just leaves a really nice smooth finish on the hair, and it's one of my favorite products when I'm working with heat. Then after adding the straightening balm, I'm gonna absolutely saturate the hair in some Color Wow Dream Coat. This stuff's great for adding shine and just that extra sparkle and softness. It's really, really beautiful, particularly with blow drying. And the final pre-styling step, of course, is to add some heat protectant because I will be doing a bit of heat styling a little bit later to perfect this look. Just a side note as well, if you don't have any of the straightening balms or shine products or pre-styling things that I'm using here, they are not an absolute necessity, okay? I'm just using them because I'm a perfectionist and I like to get the best result I can. The only thing I would say that is mandatory out of all of these is the heat protector because, if you don't use any, you risk damaging your hair, which is never a good risk to take, let's be real. Moving on, after adding my pre-stylers, I then grabbed my wide tooth comb and my hairdryer with the concentrator nozzle. It's a very important part, and I started blow drying Dillon's hair as flat as I could in a downward motion until his hair was completely dry. Note, whilst I was blow drying, I took into account where I wanted the parting of his hairstyle to be. For Levi, it sits a little bit off to the right or the left, whichever side you want to go with. So I made sure I was working that into the process, so by the time the hair was dry, the part was set in place. So after the hair was completely dry, I decided to grab my straightener and work it through the graduated hair that we'd just cut into the back. And what that did was really help accentuate that curvy shape I was talking about before, and it got the hair sitting a lot flatter on the head in preparation of finishing up the style. Once I had the hair looking shapely, I used a little bit of hair oil for extra smoothness. I use this one by Behave. It's got jojoba oil, it's got argan oil, and it's got a few other things. It's really good for defrizzing and smoothing over. It's a really nice finishing product in my opinion. And then after I did that, I grabbed the Blumaan Monarch matte paste. Now remember in the beginning of the video, I said that I'd show you how to achieve that real PC Levi look without needing to hack half your hair away. Well, this product is the secret ingredient that makes all of that happen. It's lightweight, matte finish, it has great hold, and most of all, it's easy to apply. Those are 4 things that a guy really needs when it comes to a hair product. We don't like fuss. And the thing that I love most about this product is it not only groups the hairs together really, really well, but the texture and dimension that it gives to the hair, it can transform your look from something really plain and standard to something really edgy and unique, which is exactly what we're seeing as I'm applying the product to Dillon's hair right here. It's giving it that rugged, beautiful PC Levi look, and like I said before, we haven't taken those sections out, so you can achieve it without hacking your hair up. The Monarch matte paste as well is, or something like it at least, is probably another thing that I would say is a mandatory product to make this hairstyle work, just in my opinion. Everything else is a bonus. And voila! This is how the style came out in the end. It's edgy, it's PC, it looks like Levi, and it's certainly a big transformation for good old Dillon's hair, don't you think, compared to the beginning? And that, my friends, is how you transform into Levi Ackerman. There was actually so much involved with this process, like I'm not even kidding you. It looked very simple as I was just doing those speed throughs and the voiceover and stuff, but when it comes to hair cutting, dude, you need to respect your hairdresser because they are freaking talented, okay? Until you get a pair of scissors in your hands and you have a go at it yourself, it is a whole nother ball game. So respect to Matt. Thanks, big shout out to Matt actually. Thank you so much for coming and helping me with this. We do have 2 other haircuts in the pipeline. I've got Mikasa and Annie lined up as well. Make sure you stay tuned for that. I'm not sure if I'm gonna upload them here on this channel or on another channel. I do like to keep things here more men focused, but we'll see. Nonetheless though, I hope you found this video very useful and I can't wait to hear what you guys thought about it in the comment section. Thank you so much for coming to watch. If you want to keep up with me on a regular basis, don't forget to follow me on all my social media accounts so you don't miss any of my updates. And until next time, goodbye!